everybody. Welcome back to the Moto Moves podcast. It's me, your host, Bianca, and we have our special guest again, Jeanette Garcia from the author of Battle Scars. Sorry, brain fart there for a little bit. Uh, and so I want to welcome her back to the podcast. We're going to be talking about another important and sensitive issue that she also was brave enough to discuss and share in her book. So welcome, Jeanette. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I'm so excited. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And it's a hard one. So trigger warning, I guess, for those, but don't leave.
Yes.
Don't let it trigger you.
I know. We will get through it together. I know. Oh, I didn't even do a trigger warning earlier. Off my
That's
game
okay.
today. It's okay. We'll do it before. We'll add it. But yeah, so thank you again. And would you like to give a recap, a little info on your background just in case they missed a previous episode?
Yeah. So I'm an Army veteran. I joined when I was 21. I became a military police officer. I was stationed in Fort Wainwright, Alaska, and that's where I deployed to Afghanistan as part of a female engagement team to support the infantrymen. And I went through all of that and came back home and then was PCS to Fort Riley, Kansas. And that is where I ETS'd from as well. So I did a total of 5 years of the Army. And
Awesome.
I didn't mention this before, but afterwards, I was also a federal police officer for 3 years with the Air Force.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That's cool. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't think I told you either. When I joined, I wanted to do MP, but I wasn't tall enough.
What? I got a waiver for my height. I'm 4'9".
Oh, what? I'm taller
Yeah.
than you. I didn't get a waiver. Also, my recruiter sucked.
My recruiter sucked. He was so mean.
Oh, oh, girl, if I tell you the drama, that's another episode. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to do a recruiter one. Okay. Because he was terrible, terrible. Actually, he's this bad. So, small world. I was going to Norco College when I moved out here to Corona. And one of I forget what he was, but he was in charge of like the military or the veterans, right, at the college. Can I say his name? No, I'm not gonna say his name. Okay. So I go there and I'm
Jerry.
like,
His name's
oh,
Jerry.
and I'm like, Gunny. And he was the Gunny from my recruiter's office. I was like, Gunny, whatever, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, you were the Gunny at the recruiting station in Pasadena. He was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. I was like, so and so was my recruiter. And he was like, I'm sorry. Literally, that's what he said to me. Okay. And then he was like, here's my card. Reach out to me to if let's see if I can do anything to help you. If you ever need anything, just reach out to me. I'm so sorry. I'll try to make it up to you. Well, it's too late now, sir. Okay? It is way too late. But that was his literal response to me. When I told him
That
who my
is
recruiter
so
was, yeah,
funny.
that's how bad he was. Okay? So I think my recruiter might be yours, beat yours.
Oh, probably. Mine was not present.
uh Okay. Yeah, so yeah, but that's so funny because yeah, I wanted to do MP and he was like, you're too short. And I was like, well, can I get a waiver? He was like, no. I was like, all right then. So I was like, that was that. But that's actually cool. How did you like doing the police work afterwards?
Afterwards, it was awesome because I got to actually do police work.
Yeah, yeah. Or just
um,
being at the gate.
eh, well, I got to be at the gate. When I was in the army, we didn't, I feel like I didn't do very much police work. I did
Yeah.
infantry work because I was one
Oh yeah.
platoon attached to an entire battalion of infantrymen.
Okay.
Um, so I'm like stronger than most men because I literally sucked it up. I made these guys cry and I was able to do it, but I don't recommend. I know women are now allowed in the infantry who great for you if you're doing it, but I don't recommend it. Like it's hard on our bodies.
Yeah.
We are definitely built differently.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think they should look into building gear that fits our body better. I think it would wear us
Yeah,
down less, you know, because that gear is definitely not made for us, you know.
no. I mean, it's changed so much. So when I went to Afghanistan, we had like the first generation of the plate carriers. So it was like this tiny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was better, but I'm so short that even though it's tiny, it's still whatever. But when I was a federal cop, with the Air Force, so I was a civilian cop on base working with the MPs.
Yeah.
They got my vest to because I'm big on top. They got it to fit my body, like they molded it to my body, so that was
Okay.
nicer.
Oh, well, I guess yeah, some things have changed. But
Yeah,
but that's good. Yeah, well that's cool. That's interesting. So you're just meant to be a cop.
I know. I wish I still did it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Hey, but you got to do it though,
I know
because
I did get to do it.
I will still wish and yearn for that, but whatever. It wasn't meant to be too short, supposedly. I mean, I am
Yes,
short, but whatever.
but I'm
But
shorter.
I know that's crazy, man. All right, I'll be salty about that for a little bit and I'll get over it. um, so yeah, today I wanted to touch base on MST. And I know that it's a triggering subject for many, including myself. I'm sure for you. I think every time I speak of it, is triggering in a different way. I don't think I ever get triggered the same. Um,
Yeah,
but like I mentioned before, I'm just so happy and grateful that you were willing to put your story out there. Um, and I know that it takes a lot. It's taken a lot for me to put it out there after so long. And so I know that the more we talk about it, the easier it becomes, and the bigger strides we can make um, towards making some kind of change to this
yeah,
issue. And I know that previously we had spoken about Vanessa Guillen, and I think honestly, that's a great example of how far this situation can get. And it gets that far because we're too afraid to speak.
correct.
Um, either whether it's to, our chain of command, to our friends, to our family. That fear is what prevents a lot of what prevents change, and what prevents us from being safe, I guess I could say, because I think it could always escalate. Uh, and one person's assault um, can vary very, very, very different to another's as far as you'd like the extremity, right? Um, and neither is more or less important. Assault is assault. And I think that people also need to acknowledge that. I think some people stay quiet because they think like, oh, that's minimal. Like, why should I even mention it?
Correct.
You know?
Yes.
And that's how bad things happen.
Yeah. I mean, you said it perfectly because it doesn't need to get as far as what happened to Vanessa. And that's the only story though that people hear is like the ones like that. But there's so many others that are silenced. And I mean, even my story and your story, like who knows about that? Maybe a couple thousand people, but really the whole world should know that this is happening to us
Yeah.
daily in the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad that people don't want to listen to it. People tune out as soon as they hear the word rape. the word sexual assault. I like to use the word rape because it triggers people more. And I do it intentionally because people don't like to hear that. When they hear sexual assault, it could be, I feel like it's downplayed. It's like a safe word for people, where
Hmm.
rape is very dramatic because you know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
And we kind of have to be that way when we're speaking about it, because we need to get people's attention on the topic. Because right now, somewhere in the world, there's a girl in the military getting harassed or getting raped or getting touched in a way that she doesn't want to be. And nobody will know about it because she's not going to say anything because nobody's going to believe her.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
it sucks.
yeah, no, it does. For me, I didn't report it.
Same.
uh, and I had people witness. I mean, there was other people in the room, and I didn't report it because I already had a bad relationship with my chain of command. I already had issues that I was navigating through, and I wasn't getting resolve or results for those issues I was having at that moment. So I thought, why even bother with this? Why even add it on top of all the other things they're already ignoring me about, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think for me that was 100% the reason why.
Yeah. And it's funny because I also didn't report it, and for like a different reason. I had a great relationship with my chain of command and my sergeants in my unit, and people looked, I don't want to say people looked up to me, but people respected me in what I was doing, and I was afraid to look bad. So for me to report it or to tell anybody, um, I was embarrassed. So I didn't want people to know that I got out of control, and this guy who I'm gonna deploy with raped me in front of other people. Like it's crazy that it both of the situations, yours and mine, other people were present, and I didn't speak up. Someone could have spoke up for me, but they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's honestly the same thing. And I'm not laughing because it's funny, but
Yeah.
it's hard to believe that something like that can happen and people can look the other way, you know? Um,
Yes.
and for me, I know that when it happened, I went to my friend and and he handled it in his own way, right? By confronting this guy and literally like kicking his ass because that's what he did. And in that moment, I think of not only fear, but embarrassment and shame and guilt and all those things. Like in that moment, I guess that also kind of felt like it was enough, you know? Um, enough of a resolve for the situation. But yeah, in retrospect, just because I didn't report it, somebody else could have. And so
Yeah.
why didn't you? Why didn't anybody do it? Um, and I think that happens a lot. Like I know that in your book you mentioned that you guys were out, and you felt like you didn't really drink that much that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you even had like receipts, right, to prove how
Yeah.
much you had actually. And that's actually what happened to me. Um, I Not gonna lie, that's what we did, right? You
Yeah.
went
I
out on
mean,
the
that's the
weekend
military lifestyle.
and you just drink, 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 drink. And my drink of preference was Jack Daniels. And so, yeah, well, and
I get it, girl.
yeah. And most of the time I was drunk, like I was just,
Yeah.
it's what you did on the weekend, you drank. But this specific weekend, we didn't. We went to celebrate our friend that she finally got her rating, right? And she never went out. And we got a room like we always do, all the friends, including guys, right? Because we're like brothers and sisters. And there was a new guy that came in and they invited him, and we just had beers in the hotel room. We didn't go to the bar. We didn't go to the, we didn't go line dancing. We didn't go do any of that crazy stuff we did every weekend and get totally shit faced. No, we went, we got the room, we decided to chill in the room. We had some beers. That's it. And that was the night that I was raped. And it's like, and not only me, my friend, both of us, right? And it's like, I, I still to this day, I'm like, I don't understand how, and I know it's not my fault. I know somebody just decided to make a shitty decision, right? He's a shitty
Hmm.
person or shitty intentions, whatever. Um, but I think back to all that and I think to myself, like, what, you know, what are the chances that the night that I hardly drink and that I stay indoors, that's the night that that happens to me,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I'm getting emotional. Uh, yeah, I felt like I was in the safest environment, I think, um, of all the many times I went out and partied with the same group of friends, and that's when unfortunately I had to experience that, in a room full of my friends. And yeah, sometimes I just don't understand it.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever understand the mindset of a person who does something like that to another person. Um, so the last show we talked about domestic violence, and I could tell 100 people that, but when I had to tell my story about being raped, I was so embarrassed. It's such a vulnerable thing because you're naked, you're used by somebody that you think you trust. Um, and it's just, no one should have to go through that, but so many of us do. If so, when you guys read my book, um, my my story and Bianca's story, literally almost identical, and which is more scary in the fact that two women who didn't serve directly together have the exact same story of how they were raped. And it's not okay. And what I will say is both of us didn't have the strength at that moment to tell somebody, because I also didn't report it. And it breaks my heart to think that girls are walking around the way that we walked around, and not saying anything, and people knowing that it happened to us too. Like I felt like I've done a lot of self-reflection on it, because I was like, what did I do? What did I do? Like, how did I cause this? And like the only accountability I could take is that I went out and I went to go drinking. Because after that, and I'm all about accountability, I don't have there's nothing that I did to lead this on. Um, and I think it's really important for women to support each other when we do hear that someone's been raped, because it's very easy for us to roll our eyes. It really is. I think that's we could go right now to a bar and tell a group of people that we were raped. Two people might feel sorry for us, and the other people might be like, "Ugh, another one." Um, I forgot where I was going with this for a second.
Yeah, it's okay.
But it really is just mind blowing that that when you're saying it, I'm picturing myself in, in the same situation. And I wish that I had the courage back then to speak up. And I wish that more girls, because I'm older and I say girls, but women, anybody at any age, I hope that they have more courage than I did, because I was too afraid about looking good, about caring what other people thought about me. Um, oh, I know the point. I think that when I got raped, I was naked on the floor in a hotel bathroom with men who I was about to deploy with surrounding me. And I think they did it to shame me almost. Um, I'm at the most vulnerable. I'm naked on a cold floor. I remember very vaguely parts of it, and all I remember is the cold tile floor and people standing over me and somebody penetrating me. And I've had multiple people be like, was it only one guy? And I don't know. Like I honestly only remember one person specifically, but I don't know if it was multiple. But like I only remember what was told to me afterwards. And they would taunt me with this. They would tell me, "Oh, you had sex with blank person." And I was like, "No, I didn't." And then another person said it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I remember." And I would just like, "Oh yeah, whatever," play it off because I was so embarrassed to be like, that guy raped me. And now if I reported that, I wouldn't have been able to go to Afghanistan and experience the rest of whatever I did in my life. And it's really hard, it's a really hard topic. And it breaks my heart that you went through the same thing. Honestly, it it hurts my heart.
No, I feel the same for you. Like when I read it in your book, it was like I was back in that hotel room in North Carolina, and I could only imagine what you felt. And I felt like as I could was reliving my experience, I felt like I could also simultaneously live yours without even having that same experience. Sorry. And I'm sorry that you went through that too. And I just hope that with us being this open and being able to talk about it, that it will help those that are going through it now. And I hate to say it so confidently, right? But it's
Yeah.
the truth because it's going to continue to happen. And nobody should ever have to go through that because it's a shame that no matter how much healing you go through, it's just a raw wound, right? Like that someone taking over your being in that way is just, I think that's one of the most, I think it's just one of the most soul wrenching things you can experience, for someone to take
Yeah.
away uh, that power from you, and to be able to boast about it, like, like you don't matter, like you're just an object. Uh, I just hate that this is something that is so common, you know?
Yeah, it really does suck, because there's women in the military right now, and I mentioned this before, and it's happening as we speak. And I know that they've worked really hard to try to have different things in place. Um, but I don't think we're loud enough still. Like, I don't think that this voice is loud enough. It's only loud enough once a year, maybe twice a year on specific months.
Once.
Um,
Yeah.
when somebody dies, um, but it should be all the time, or whenever you're doing like your sharp classes or whatever they're called, your sexual assault classes in the military. And
Yeah.
sometimes those guys are the worst. It's not funny, but it's true.
Those are the ones that shouldn't be giving the class. They should be
Yeah,
taking it. Yeah.
correct. It's like it's just really, unfortunately, it's the environment that isn't it's in the military. And um I think with everything going on in the world today, it's probably worse, honestly, you know? Um, and I think more people are afraid to speak out now than they were 10 years ago because they don't want to be discriminating people that are doing this to them. So I really feel for the women that are in the military that have to experience this with people that they're afraid of, because they know that the man or whatever the person is they're going to take the other side.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that I feel like I understand the process of innocent until proven guilty, right? Like
Yeah.
I get that. I respect it, you know. But in an environment where we're so close together all the time, right? In an environment where this happens so often, I think there should be something put in place where it needs to work the opposite direction, right? Because nobody wants to accept that there's a possibility that there's a rapist in the unit. Like, no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they can't fathom it, you know? Like, oh, no. So you can accept the fact that you have female liars, but you can't
Yep.
accept the fact that you have male rapists. Or, I mean, you know what? It can go either way. So you can accept the fact that you have liars in your unit, but you can't
Hmm.
accept the fact that you potentially have rapists in your unit. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is it okay to be like, no, you're a liar, so you're in trouble, instead of saying, oh, you're a rapist? We need to re-examine you a little bit more right now. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that okay?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, if a man rapes, or whoever, I'm speaking as a man, as a woman,
As a
and
woman.
it would be a man. So if a man rapes a woman, nothing happens to them. And another dramatic instance of something happening, but there's action, is if there's a domestic violence, they get separated from each other for 72 hours. So at least in that instance, there's an action. But with the other one, they'll leave that person in the same room with the abuser. And it's just mind blowing that they still have to work with them until they're proven guilty instead of separating them. Or um, I think in my unit with the girl who did report it,
Mhm.
it took them like 3 months to move her to another unit that she didn't have to be with him. So during her most vulnerable time, she had to stay
And see
with
him.
her and work with her abuser. Yeah, it's just mind blowing. Like,
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't understand. And I don't understand when you see how constant this issue is, like, why aren't things being done faster to make a better process? You know, and I'm not saying that if it happened less, then it'd be okay to take your time. Because no, no matter how long, how many times it happens, or the severity of the rape, it's it's an issue, right?
yes,
But we're seeing how often this is happening, and yet nothing is being done. And I think that's part of the problem. Because nothing is being done, it's continually happening over and over and over and over again. Because guess what? You might be the lucky guy that nothing happens to you because the system's stupid, you know,
yeah,
or because we have no system, basically, you know, and so. To me, I don't understand that. I don't understand how it's easy to victim blame, but you can't place blame on the actual perpetrator.
Correct. Yeah, I know. And um, we've spoken about Vanessa multiple times, but her sisters, but specifically her sister Myra, has been fighting at the state capitol, and they won, and they did put something in place for the aftermath of like the investigations and being able to see people outside of the military to report and stuff. But that's not preventing it from happening. And I don't think you could ever prevent something so horrific to happen because you can't keep people separated. You
Yeah.
know, women and men are gonna interact anywhere they go. um, I think a great way to prevent something is to, I hate to say it because we should be able to have fun too. Like, but like maybe don't drink too much, or maybe don't drink if you're uncomfortable in that situation, or but even on the days that you're gonna drink, it's like we shouldn't have to worry about it. So it's almost kind of like what what could we do? But what we could do afterwards is work on ourselves and heal ourselves and know that it's not our fault, because there's nothing we could have done to prevent it. Even when I try to come up with ideas to prevent something so horrific, they sound one dumb because it is. We shouldn't have to live a life like that. And that is probably the biggest process that I had to go through, is the healing of that incident, because it hits in here more than like the outer, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but it's more the heart.
Yeah. No, that's what I was trying to explain earlier. Like it's like your soul, right? It's like it affects the inner you, like
Yeah.
the physical part of it, all that pain and all that, you get past that, right? You
Hmm.
heal physically, but emotionally, right? That's the hardest part to heal. When someone takes that control from you, and that part of you. And it's hard to explain, like, it's a part of you that's taken from you when you're raped, you know? Um, it's like they yank a little piece of your soul out,
Yeah.
that you can't replenish the same again. At least I feel for me, you know, and healing was very, very difficult. The healing to start that healing process for that, I think, yes, is the hardest. Is the most difficult part. I want to say that I drank more. I,
Yep.
yeah, I want to say that I was more reckless for a while. I mean, just engaging in whatever. I just it,
Yes.
it was almost like I lost myself. I like I didn't care anymore, so I was just reckless. I no accountability, no care for myself. I was just doing what I pleased when I wanted to because fuck it, why not? You know? Like I'm ruined. I felt ruined. And I felt like anything I did wasn't going to hurt me anymore because I was that ruined already, you know?
That is such a great way to explain it, because I spiraled that way as well. Alcohol, being promiscuous, doing whatever I wanted, not caring about, like, taking care of healing. But I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I never correlated the two, because I went through so much trauma in a year that I just lost everything of who I was. And then I was just trying to be like a mask
Yeah.
of what people thought I should be. And alcohol plays a big part. Like, it really, Um, because I went to Afghanistan and I came back and I had to deal with back to back to back to back traumas.
Yeah.
And my thing was alcohol. Wine was my go-to, and going out and just being wild because that's what I thought I was supposed to do to be normal
Yeah.
instead of taking the time to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, we were young. I was young.
I
And
was
I
young.
think, yeah, we were young. And I don't, and I think the conversation of mental health too, and those traumas, those things were never really discussed. Like I know at least in my home, like
Hmm.
depression and mental health and stuff, it was just like not a subject to talk about. So it wasn't anything that was like in my radar to think like, dude, I got raped, like something's wrong with me. I should look for help. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck it. Whatever. Back in that little drawer, of memories, and you just suppress it and you just kind of move forward and do everything else you can to cope and to forget, and you don't think about those things, right? And because I didn't speak about it either, too, I don't know if that would have even helped if someone would have thought like, oh, Bianca, maybe you need some help, or let's have you thought about it, or a healthier way to cope. No, it was just I kept it to myself, and I didn't feel like I could trust anybody else with it. And even if I did, I didn't think it would get me anywhere. So
Hmm.
I just did what I had to do. And for me, I think it was kind of the opposite. So I had that traumatic incident, and then I kind of spiraled and was just being crazy. And then I got married, which obviously was not a sane decision either. And he was literally, man, I want to say he had been in the military maybe like 9 months, and we got married, and I was, yeah, so, and I had already gotten out, and so I jumped out from that trauma to that, which in
Yeah.
turn turned out to be, and so it wasn't the healthiest decision, right? And then it brought all those issues into that relationship, along with issues we already had and red flags I already saw, but I didn't care because I was being reckless. I didn't care, it was just like, fuck it,
Yeah.
let's get married. Oh, okay, sure, why not? I mean, my life's a freaking shit show anyway, so what's another thing to add to it? Who cares? Let's just pack it all
I
in.
know.
Let's just do it, and so we did. And then that, as we spoke before, that turned out to be a not great experience either. Um, and um, I know we spoke about domestic violence, but at least for me, I also experienced, I try to also talk about this too. Rape can also happen in your marriage. It's not, you know, just because you're married doesn't give anyone the right to have intercourse with you, and so those are experiences too that I had to encounter later, which didn't help um, any kind of healing after my initial rape, right? Because now I'm back or I'm continuing that cycle, right? Because I never healed from that or spoke to anybody about it. And here I am in an abusive marriage in every way possible. And so now I'm getting re traumatized and just in that same way all over again, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important subject to talk about too. Sometimes I think people think that because you're married, you have to do it. You
Yeah.
have to
And
do it.
you don't. I know, um, when I go into rooms and I have these conversations with women, for the most part, there's always only like one or two that haven't experienced anything, and the rest of the room has. And I spoke with a woman once, and she said that her ex-husband would forcefully rape her. Like he would do horrific things to her, and that he felt that it was okay because they're married and that's the husband. And I'm a huge Christian, I'm a believer of God, and I will tell you right now, God did not design us to be treated that way by our husbands. A husband should treat you like the church, and God does not treat the church like that. So if you're in that situation where your husband is hurting you in that way, you need to leave, and it's okay to go, and
Yeah.
you will be fine. I promise you, it's not going to be easy, maybe, but do not stay in relationships where, and it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand that also, but don't feel, because for a lot of women who do stay in those relationships, for some reason, they're Christian women, they're Catholic women, they're women who are huge believers, and that is not what God intended marriage to be. That man is hurting you. You should leave. And
Yes.
I promise you, you will be okay. It's not going to be easy. You're going to feel days where you're going to feel helpless, and that maybe you don't have enough money for food, or maybe, you need something. There's resources, and don't be too prideful to reach out to people and have people help you out, because no one deserves to live that way. And I think, Bianca, the fact that that happened to you is just so heartbreaking, because you marry the person that you love, and that's where the most safe place in the entire world should be, is your home
Yeah.
and your bedroom with your husband. And that is not okay.
Thank
That's not okay.
thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think about all the things that I have survived, and sometimes I'm surprised to how far I've gotten in life and who I am now. Um, and I haven't had I've had very, what is the word? Not all my moments have been very prideful. I've had some very, low moments in my life. I've hit rock bottom more than once. You know, I've experienced so many traumatic experiences, as have you. I've not all of my experiences have been like yours, but like I said before, everybody's trauma is different. Sometimes it can be very similar, you know. But yeah, sometimes I think back to everything and I'm just like, I don't even know how I'm still alive sometimes, like I honestly think that way.
Me too.
And, I do. And I'm just, I think about having to power through life, um, and giving life and raising kids in a world that I personally know, um, how scary it can be. And I just look around and I'm just grateful that I've been able to heal the way that I have, and that I've been able to become who I am. Because for a long time I was a lost soul. And I think that I think that you're a perfect example of that too, for those other survivors, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it might be hard to heal. And even though we can be triggered every day, and I don't know, even though we have those terrible memories, right? Like, they don't hold us back. It's something that happened to us, but it's not who we are, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
I tell
Yeah.
people that all the time.
Yeah, no, I see you. I see, like I see your book, and you speaking and doing all the things that you're doing, and you're just this amazing person, that you're resilient, and I want people to know that they're resilient too,
They
and
are.
they have the capacity to be resilient like you are. Um, I'm so emotional, I can't even talk right now.
Me too. I know. I'm so glad to have met you, because I don't want to say I feel like I'm looking at a mirror, but you're a really strong woman. Like I just, I'm just so proud of who you are because you're giving other people a voice to be able to share this. And it really does matter because even though we don't know it, even though that person might not say it, somebody's hearing this and they needed to hear it. And to be able to give that space to people is what you're doing. And I'm just like in awe of like who you are and how powerful you are when you speak. And you're right. It's not just us. Anyone, all the women listening to this have that in them. We're all resilient. We all have the ability to just power through what's going on, heal in your own way, however you need to heal and love yourself again. Like
Yes.
I don't think we give ourselves enough credit of how amazing we are, but I'm like watching you and like listening to you and talk like, we've spent a lot of time today together and I'm just like, that's me. Like
Yeah.
you're me in a different body and you know all the pain that I've had and I see you doing what I'm doing and it's just like, wow, like we humans are just so amazing and for everyone that is not healed, it's possible for you. It really is. And I hope that you guys really take that to heart and take life by the horns and take charge of your life again. Don't let whatever trauma, whatever hurt you have inside you take over your life. You are not your trauma. That is just something that happened to you. That's not who you are. And the fact that you said that, I'm just like, yes, someone
Yeah.
else said it too.
Yes. Yeah. I think that when we initially go through our traumatic experiences, we don't see past that, right? We think like
Yeah.
we are that, right? And it just takes, what you said is right. It takes self-love to be able to get through it, right?
Yeah.
Because for a long time I did not love myself. I was not happy with myself. And I blame myself, right? And so that's not love, you know. I didn't give myself grace, and it took a long time to be able to learn that. I could give everybody else grace, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
just handing it out, you know, grace for everyone. It's okay, you know.
But
It's
never
okay,
for yourself.
but never for myself. No, it never, because I didn't
Yeah.
deserve it, because I wasn't good enough, because I must have done something wrong. You know, like, and it wasn't until one day I woke up and I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of always thinking this, you know, that literally I made a choice to love myself again and to take care of myself and to do all the things that I needed, right? And literally, and that's what I did. And I started working out, and I literally told my husband, I was like, hey, I need help. I'm not okay. Like, I know I'm not okay. I need help, you know? And he was like, okay, you know, like
Yeah.
knocking out my microphone, you know? And yeah, and it was just until I made that step and that realization myself, you know, it wasn't that I really started making strides in my life and regaining control in my life. And
Yeah.
I think that that was the vital part, right? Like I felt like I lost control of my life, you know, because somebody took something so valuable from me. And so, you know, it wasn't until then that I was like, okay, I can take control. Oh my God,
Yeah.
can you
I
hear
love
that
that.
spoon in the background?
No.
No? Oh, okay, good. I'm like, oh my God. It's
No.
distracting me. But sorry, yeah, it
No,
was
I love that because we are worthy of love. More importantly, to love ourselves. That is the most important. And before we go, I also want to mention like if you were raped as a child, and you still have that in you, that is the worst. Anyone who does that to a kid is just, I hate those people. Like, I don't hate a lot of things, but that I don't like. And you're worthy to love yourself again. That was not your fault. When we speak on these topics, it also includes you, even though a lot of the stories people hear are adults speaking, like when it happened to them as adults, but as a child, that's 100 times worse. And I can't imagine. I would say I was molested when I was younger, but not to a point where I think it affected my life. But I know people who it has, and you deserve the most love, and you are hold a really special place in the world and in my heart. And there's no excuse to hurt an innocent child at all, because I think that they're forgotten sometimes when we have these conversations. And I know we're talking about military sexual trauma, but I always want to remember that, like, kids in the military that are around people that they don't know, um, your battle buddies come over, everyone's having parties. You don't know that your kid's getting touched by your coworker, and it really is scary and sad because we put so much trust in those people with our lives, so we trust them to come into our homes,
Yeah.
and that's scary.
No, it is. I think that that is a very important point to make. Um, Even now, I tell my husband that all the time. Like my kids, if I we don't meet the parents, um, they don't get to go over, and much less spend the night.
Yeah,
Spending the night is at a certain age, and we have to really, really know the parents and trust them, not just any sleepover, not just any whatever, right? Um, and I think that when you're in the military, you're so strongly bonded and you have that deep, deep trust that you think it's not going to happen. But that same rapist that's raping your adult coworkers and the other military personnel, those are the same people you're inviting in your home and surrounding your children with. Right? And so I think it's very important that people also are aware of that, and
yeah,
it's not to say that it's everybody, because like, again, we're not placing blame on everyone, but that is something we need to consider, and that's something my husband and I are very, very specific about.
yeah,
we
me too.
yeah, we don't. And even my daughter's friends, like they'll let their parents will let them just come, and sometimes I tell my husband, like, they don't know if you're a weirdo. Like they don't
I
know,
know, I think that too.
and he's my husband and he's not. And I know he's a stand-up guy, right? But I'm like, they don't know, dude. And I'm like, or what if we have like uncle whoever that lives here and he is a weirdo, or
Correct.
cousins or whatever, or shoot, or even a son. What if I have an older son that's not the most,
Yeah,
trustworthy guy, and they're just drop off the kids here and they don't even care, and I'm just like, I tell him sometimes, like, man, that's that's how stuff happens. That's how bad things happen.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think that, yeah, we have to talk about these things, and we have to really be open and willing to express the different kinds of scenarios and things that can happen, because they happen. They happen every day. And
yeah.
the same thing for me. I've gone through some unfortunate things as a child. My daughter was abused as a child, as a younger child, and so these things happen to everyday people, to your neighbor, to your cousins. Just because people don't talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And so we have to be more aware and more careful, because all trauma is trauma, but man, I think rape is one of the most horrendous things you could do to a person, let
It
alone
is,
a
yeah,
child, you know? So I think we have to be more careful as a society and as parents, and just as people, we got to be better humans. we have
Yeah,
to we have to watch out for each other more, you know?
we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is always a hard conversation for sure.
Yeah. Ugh, my heart. My heart
I
is
know. I feel, I know I keep saying it, but I really am so happy I met you.
me too. I really
Yeah.
am. Yeah, me too. I believe in things happen for a reason. I think I
Yeah.
was at the right time, at the right place at the right time when you posted. And I was like, hey, this girl and this book, you guys, if you haven't gotten it, you have to read it. You have to get it. I've read it twice already, taken notes. I have little notes in there. It's a great book. But yeah, I am too. I'm very grateful to have met you. I think you like I said, I think you're just an amazing person, but I think selfishly for me, I think you're very beneficial for my life and my healing process. Let's leave everybody else aside right now. For me, I'm very lucky to have met you, really honestly. But yeah, I just like I told you, I've been doing this for about a year, and it's been hard to have a guest because it really is difficult to talk about these things, right? And
Yeah.
not only is it triggering, and people maybe just don't want to upset themselves by reliving, but people don't want to put themselves out there, and because of judgment and shaming and guilt and so on and so forth, and so um I understand that, so I'm not like, "Ugh, you guys, I hate you guys for not being a guest on my show." No, just kidding. Like it's not like that, but I do sometimes really wish I just had more people to open up the conversation because just like we connected, and like I said, I connected through your book before I even spoke to you, like just reading your book, I just felt that connection and that comfort, like so many things in your story are so similar to mine that it was it's beautiful, and then being able to talk and now people to listen and listen to our engagement and our conversation even if they don't engage with us, but hearing us can
Yeah.
somehow be comforting to them, right? And so yeah, I love this. I'm so happy that I met you. And I think that I think there's a million other topics we could probably touch on, you and I,
Yeah.
that could resonate with the rest of the world, right? So I think we should plan for that. But
Yeah.
but no, honestly, yeah, I'm so grateful for you to be open and share your story. And for those of you out there listening and watching, I know it's hard and I know you don't want to put yourself out there. But I think that the more that we talk about it, um, the louder we are, right? We don't have to be loud by yelling and being obnoxious and no, that's not going to get us anywhere. Just talking, that makes us louder, that makes us bigger, that makes us heard. And so the more we can connect and talk to each other and make this known, I think the bigger strides we're going to make changes to help, you know, all women and hopefully create some kind of resistance, right, against all these um I don't know. I want to say a lot of things, but so all these bad people out there with their bad intentions to be politically correct, I guess. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yes.
think that this is the only way. We have to unite and we have to talk and we have to share. Um, and it's okay to be scared. You're brave enough, right? You've
Yeah.
survived. And
Well, if they joined the service, they're definitely brave
definitely.
in all, you
So,
know? So,
yes. Yeah. So I just hope that more people will be willing to join the conversation for sure, because I really do think that it does make a big difference. It has for me, and I'm hoping that it is for other people. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to share or say?
No, I'm just really grateful for this time with you. I'm I hope that this touches other people and that they know that they're not alone and that they can speak out and that there's resources. If you guys need anything, you guys could go to my Instagram, look me up, surviving.after.trauma. Um, yeah, it's surviving after trauma. Yes. And www.wesurvivetrauma.com. You could go in there, submit your story. I could publish it or I could just read it myself and it'll be a release for you. It's up to you. You don't have to put your name in there. It makes a difference once you put it down on paper or when you type it. And that's how I healed is the more I put it down on paper, the more that I typed it, the more that I said it, not only the more that I healed, but also the more that I remembered in the situation. I
Yeah,
would be like, oh, I forgot this piece. Oh, even when I read my book now, I'm like, oh, I forgot this. Like my friend's like, it needs more guts. More things happen to you. And I go, but this isn't crazy that when I'm doing it the first time, I didn't remember that. So the more you do it, the more practice your brain has in remembering whatever you're trying to forget. And I promise you, it's such a healing process and it's amazing.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for having me.
yeah, no, thank you for being a guest and for joining us twice. I appreciate it so much. And I can't wait to get together and hopefully do more of these. And then,
Yeah.
again, selfishly get together and just talk. I can talk to you forever. You're like
Yeah,
the
me too.
best. I love you so much. You're the best.
Oh, me
But
too.
thank you. Yay. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, so also yeah, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being so brave and sharing your story. And again, her book is called Battle Scars and it's on Amazon. So I suggest you get it. It's a very good read and it's very therapeutic. So I think you guys should check it out. So thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.